Good morning. On today's video, which I'm going to transition out of full screen floating head mode in a minute, I'm going to continue where we left off on argument, looking at the 2010 FRQ prompt from AP, looking at humorists. So if you haven't watched the previous video picking apart, I'm going to go into just looking at the prompt really quickly, and then we'll go into looking at some examples. So just hang tight while I go there. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So that's my first goal. Yay, there we go. So you should see the prompt on your screen here. So it's from 2010, like I said before, and this prompt has to do with this person arguing that the chief aim of humorists is not merely to entertain, but to convey with impunity messages that might be dangerous or impossible to state directly. Because society allows humorists to say things that other people cannot or will not say, this person sees humorists as serving a vital function in society. We picked apart how, for this prompt, you aren't arguing with this person. What they have to say it should generate ideas for you, because you still need to think about what they say, but you're not having a direct conversation with the person that's quoted. So please don't think that you need to quote them or address them directly. It's your argument that we're going to be working on. So you just need to think about the implications that person's, and that's why I'm calling them that person, because I don't want to give that person priority like we do in rhetorical analysis. So that person's view on the role of humorists, we just look back at what their view is, and theirs is definitely that the aim of humorists is not just entertainment, that it's also to be able to say things that are dangerous for other people to say or impossible for other people to say, and that they usually don't do this directly. And then they give you some examples of types of humorists, and then we want to write an essay that defends, challenges, or qualifies the claim. Those of you that did the online College Board AP Classroom activity argument, you're going to notice this wording sounds very familiar: to defend, challenge, or qualify. Defending means you're going to agree with the stance that is presented by the author. Challenge, obviously, you're going to challenge it, you're going to disagree with it. And then qualify means you're kind of in between, that in this way I agree, but this way I disagree. And here's how I'm going to qualify where my stance is on the issue, because I don't completely agree or completely disagree with this person. And a lot of you might find yourself there on the qualifies. Just make sure you're really clear on what you think and why. That's the big thing. Some kids get on that fence, and then their fence is really nothing, because they don't really have an opinion. They're just without a spine. They don't want to agree and they don't want to disagree, or, oh, I see both sides of it. I see where they're both coming from. Well, why? When? You've got to make a decision. So that's one big thing that we want to look at before we dig in any deeper. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to take you to the AP website to look at some student examples. So it's going to just take me a minute to navigate there, but I'll show you how to do that. You do not need to be logged in to do that. Oops. Sorry, I'm going to bring this back real quick. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute while I get this other thing up. So sorry, I'm new to this and blah, 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 excuse, whatever. So you're going to end up going to the College Board website, which is what I'm doing right now. I just, in my Google search, I just search College Board. That's how I do it every time. I know it's like collegeboard.org, but whatever. And I'll share my screen again with you in just a second as soon as my things start loading up. Alrighty, so there it is. Oh my goodness, look at that first thing, the join the YouTube live classes. For those of you that are clueless about what College Board is doing, they're offering these online streaming classes that are also recorded and put on there that are tutorials, much like what I'm doing. So they're just much more formalized than what mine is. Mine, I'm trying to keep it pretty natural, organic to me, just working through things and looking at things with you. So that's join YouTube live classes. You can do that, go there. So the biggest thing we want to do, I did this before, so I'm gonna do it even faster this time, which is how do I, whoops, that was dumb to click that. Wow, Thomas, F minus. So I showed this in my first tutorial video, how to get here. So I'm not really gonna explain every little step. I'm just gonna go pretty quickly to where I need to be to get the examples for this prompt. So, oh, I just went past it, didn't I? Do that every time too. Don't worry. It's because the English section is so small that it's easy to go past it. All right, so I want to go to about the exam. The thing I hate about their website, you have to click like 5 million different things to get to it. I know I should just bookmark it so that I can come back to it easily, but whatever. All right, exam components. Oh, they've updated. Nope, they didn't update that. So I'm down here, free response questions. Yes, archive. I want to be in the archive. Okay, 2010. Could I have had this already brought up before starting this video? Yes, but I figure it's good for some of you that want to actually be able to see where to go, that, you know, you just kind of need that reminder, that reinforcement. So in future videos, I probably won't have these steps, but I'm actually doing this on purpose to make sure that you guys see where to go, even though I had an intro video about it. So this is question 3. Let's make sure we're in the right one. They have form B, which is like their other form. Yep, this is the right one. I'm already seeing that person they quoted here in the old rubric. So this is the old rubric. It doesn't apply to you guys. This was our holistic one, which I really miss because it was easy for me to like tell the difference between different levels of writing. I don't know. It just wasn't as clunky as the current rubric is. All right, so we're just going to look at introductions today. That's all we're going to do. That's going to be the focus, is because that's where you start when you write these anyway, because you're limited on your time. You just need to jump into an introduction. So we're just going to read this first one and see what we think. And the introduction goes to, I believe, right here. Okay, I think, yeah, that looks like an indent to me. So that's how far we're going to go. So you can follow along on here on the screen, or if you have it open yourself, you can follow along. I'll do my best to read their handwriting. It says, although inane and trivial at times, well-played humor can change the world. As argued in his 2004 book, Status Anxiety, Alain de Botton correctly emphasizes humorists as vital to society for their ability to act as society's Hermes, delivering messages. Oh, Hermes, that's a reference to mythology. Delivering messages without fail. Humor's importance has manifested itself in political cartoons of revolutionary France, Mark Twain's satire of Southern racism and hypocrisy. I'll redo that. Mark Twain's satire of Southern racism and hypocrisy, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and today's endless political commentary and endless political commentary showcased on programs like Saturday Night Live. So this kind of sounds like your traditional 3-pronger, right? Where it's like, I've given you my 3 examples I'm really going to talk about. So we're going to have the political cartoons of revolutionary France, Mark Twain's satire, and then Saturday Night Live. It's okay. I mean, it does what it needs to do, right? It brings up the context of the argument, mentions the prompt, which you can do. You don't have to. You can be a little bit more creative with that. I like the word choice, though. This person has a good vocabulary. So inane and trivial, well played. I mean, those are all really strong word choices that I'm noticing. Notice they even analyze how this person correctly emphasized. So it's clear that this person agrees. So they are supporting the quote and that stance. You know, it brings up what it's going to talk about. I'm not a huge fan of those because I like more of the focus on like what is your opinion on the topic, but you know, each reader is different a little bit, each teacher that reads these. So the big thing we're looking for, is there a clear thesis that has a stance on the issue? Yes, this one would earn that point. So as far as looking at introduction, is it the most interesting as far as sophistication? The language is, I like the language in it so far, the vocabulary choice, the diction, as it were. You know, and bring up hypocrisy. I mean, I just see this elevated writing style. It's a little clunky, but yeah, but maybe that's my fault for just me reading it aloud. I'm not gonna blame the writer for that unless I go back through and see there's like some errors in that. So let's look at the next one and see what they did for their introduction. I'll kind of just do a talk aloud like I'm doing, which is just explaining what I noticed about their introduction. All right, so this next one, it goes down, wow, to there. Okay, that's a pretty long introduction compared to the other one and compared to what we see a lot. So let's see if that's a good or bad thing. All right. Oh, this person does little circles to dot their I's. Oh, I'm not going to judge him. Not going to judge him. Humor is the art of saying what's on everyone's mind and either hasn't thought of or is too shy to say. Humor is essential to free speech and furthermore, free thought. For those who argue that humor is only to entertain, have they ever considered why it's so entertaining? What makes us laugh besides the inappropriate jokes and tickling? Most laughter begat by humor, to be honest, is nervous laughter. I can't believe she said that. Oh, he went there. Yeah, we're laughing because we are appalled, not necessarily at the sentiment, but at the fact that someone had the courage to say it. I also maintain that often we laugh partly out of jealousy because we wish we were the ones who had made the joke, who had make the joke. Oh, I corrected them. All right. Do they understand the prompt completely? I don't know that it's that sophisticated. I mean, they understand, they mentioned free speech, and I like that, and free thought, but I think they focus too much on the like jealousy aspect of wishing you said something, and I'm really hoping the rest of the essay goes more into like the importance of humorists. And that's not just about saying what's on your mind, but about critiquing society. This person just doesn't quite get that higher level thought that's going on with this prompt. But I mean, it's pretty decent. I mean, but the focus seems to me a little bit off. I like the voice. I like the use of the rhetorical questions. The vocabulary is not as sophisticated as the other one, but I like the use of the word appalled. Yeah, so I'm seeing some issues with the purpose and what's being argued. Because it seems to me they're not picking up on that bigger issue. I mean, they are, but they aren't. You know, like they kind of mentioned at the beginning, but then they go off on this tangent a little bit in the introduction. Ooh, I see them bring up Jonathan Swift next, so maybe it gets better, but we're not going to look at that today. I'm going to go to the next example, the last one. Last one. Oh my gosh, Freudian slip. Last one. I'll read this one, and then we'll look at the comments. Hopefully we can go over to that and see what that says. All right. Laughing is proven to make people healthier mentally and physically. Americans crave happiness. We have an entire section of movies for it in the video stores. Humorists are not merely there to entertain. They help put spin on events that are grave matters. This is pretty dated with the video stores. That was my first thought. I was like, wow, those don't even exist anymore, really, except that one Blockbuster in Oregon. So, but I mean, it's from 2010 before all that happened. So we'll forgive them for that. To me, this is what I see a lot of you kind of writing, which are very basic and not in depth. It's clunky. It jumps from one idea to the next. It has an attempt at a hook, a generalized statement. Laughing is proven to make people healthier mentally and physically. Americans crave happiness. Okay, general statements that we can all relate to. We have an entire section devoted to humor. Okay, but who cares? Okay, so you're emphasizing that we focus on that. Americans love this, and that was your example of it as your background. And then it's the thesis, which is humorists are not merely there to entertain. They help put spin on events that are grave matters. This is really general. Spin, while I like that word, I want to know what you mean by that. Get into that criticism, get into what they are really pointing out and how they're able to really say the things about our world and our leaders that other people can't tend to get away with. And even say about ourselves and each other in general. And then grave matters, I'm like, what are you talking about there? Like, I want to know more there. Like this intro leaves me wanting more, just more detail, like grave matters. I'm like, ooh, grave means like really negative. And like, grave is, if you'd even just think of death, you'd be there. Okay. So let's see, they're going to talk about the essay as a whole down here in the feedback, and we only read the introduction. So I'm only going to read a little bit of the feedback to know. So the very first one we read was what in the old scoring system was an 8. 8 would be like advanced. I mean, that is like scoring like a 6 now, where it's sophisticated and it has a solid thesis, it has excellent evidence and a great variety, the language is well done, great diction, all that stuff. I mean, it's just the top tier. It's not the top score. A 9 is the top score. So it probably had some issues, but not enough to drop it down really far. This one says, this effective essay defends the claim about the vital role of humorists. It presents a thoughtful and thorough argument that begins with the introduction of the student's position, and they quote the position, okay? Using the appropriate and convincing example of Louis the 16th. Oh, and that's later, because that's that next paragraph. But it does talk, and so I'm skimming here, and this is talking about the examples that are brought up, which we'll look at later. The language, structure, and organization are consistently controlled, and the response thoroughly develops effective argument with appropriate and convincing examples. Remember how I critiqued that intro and I was like, oh, it's kind of formulaic. It gives me the 3 prongs. It's still solid because probably the rest of it is well written. It has great examples. They're explained in detail, has a great variety. They're sophisticated examples. They're not just like personal experiences. Personal experiences have their place. Just be careful with that. The next one, the second one, remember the one that I kind of like that introduction, the voice of it? Got a score of a 7. I mean, that's a really good score. Just slightly below this one. So this one, they say the essay adequately defends the claim about the vital role of humorists. It is well organized and developed, announcing the student's intentions in the first paragraph. Humor is essential to free speech and furthermore free thought. I remember how I was going back and forth where I was like, the end of it deviated from the focus and it really had it at the beginning. Aha, there it is. So it was there. The thesis was there. So I feel better now because I was kind of like, well, it's there, but it's not. It's just at the beginning. So that's something that I would just probably do a reread just to make sure. And then they talk about the evidence. And then at the bottom it says, the response demonstrates a more mature style and the evidence is more complete and more thoroughly developed than in a response earning a score of 6. So you gotta have some maturity with your writing and with your examples and everything you bring up, which is kind of hard to teach to kids. It's like, you're not adults, you are maturing, you're on your way there, but you gotta use the highest quality examples that you can. Remember, it's a college class. You want to use academic examples as much as possible. The last one got a 3. That's not a passing score. A 4 isn't even a passing score. A 5 is considered adequate, but the lowest adequate score. So the one we just read about was a 7 because we used to have a 9-point scale. So this one would be still passable on the new rubric. This one, okay. Remember, I could already tell from the intro. The intro was lacking completely. It was so vague. And look at here, aha, validation from Mrs. Thomas. The essay begins with a vague mention of its intent, appearing to be a better defense of de Botton's claim about the vital role of humorists than it is. Humorists are not merely there to entertain, they help put spin on events that are grave matters. And then they say the response continues with an unclear sense of direction. Okay. The control of language is weak and the prose is immature. That means the way it's written, the language, the sentence structure, all that stuff is immature. It's not well developed. You're not showing and flexing your skills as a writer, which you have to do for this exam. This inadequate response demonstrates less success in its defense of the claim. So, I mean, that one was pretty low. And we will look at it on another video next week, looking at the rest of them, looking at the body of evidence that each of these essays do, what they use, how they use it, and then look at those responses just like I did today with the introduction. And I hope that gives you a nice review of an argument and what you should be trying to do with your own writing. So until next time, make sure you guys keep reading, keep practicing, look at the stuff that's on Canvas. I don't like my giant head being here, but how do you like that background? Oh yeah, look at that, look at that. But I will see you guys next time.